There exists a subreddit called r/escaping prison planet. The idea is that all human souls are trapped in a reincarnation cycle, and people on the subreddit believe that Earth is a prison and we need to find a way out of this cycle. A lot of people there believe too that there are some entities like archons or reptilians that are keeping us trapped here against our will. Of course, the idea of archons and reptilians is pretty much out there, but I don't think that this is the core idea of the prison planet. It is something much more relatable and dark. In order to find peace within existence and comfort in this life, philosophically and spiritually, I find it crucial to explore. I want to read you a post from the subreddit. What if the Earth is the real hell? If you think about it, it could definitely be. We have to eat other living things to survive. Disease and famine never seem to end. Natural disasters wipe away entire civilizations. All of us will suffer at some point in life and no one escapes it. If we all consider reincarnation, then this genuinely could be hell. We can't escape, we are forced to suffer, we eventually have to lose everything we once loved, or our loved ones lose us. It's genuinely sick the more you think about it. When I read posts like this, I don't think this is crazy at all. In fact, I actually relate much with it. I used to think exactly like this. And if you approach life with empathy and logic, then this framing almost seems unescapable. Think about the worst moments of your life and then think about how many of them exist at scale around the entire planet every single day. It's easy to wonder if all of this is the cause of freedom or just a hellish trap. Even if you're not struggling intensely in life, do you not also sometimes feel like your life is dragging on since forever? Do you ever think about how many years you have left to live, and instead of feeling excited about your life, you just feel worried and overwhelmed, confused about how often you have to repeat this cycle again and again? Just your own life feels like an endless cycle. The same bed, the same body, the same house, the same food, the same people, again and again. It's a loop, and you're just in for the ride. You didn't choose this loop. You fell into it. And every single person is in this loop. They do what their personality has been trained to do, what they have been given by their environment and their brains. In a way, you believe you're stuck being in your body. You're stuck in your life. Or maybe you're not even aware of how deep you've been stuck in your patterns, the patterns of who you are. And if this loop gets exhausting enough, all you can think about is escape. Wanting to escape your thoughts, your personality, the people around you, your entire life, this entire world. If you look at life without bias, when you look at how much we hurt each other, how we enslave each other, how animals get eaten alive in the wild, how no being has signed up for any of this, life really does seem like it's a trap. It seems like you should not be here. I used to think a lot about this and then have experiences of sudden impending doom. During a random day, suddenly, out of nowhere, the universe looked into my very being and said, something horrible is going to happen to you soon and there's nothing you can possibly do about it. It's like you're suddenly on edge, like something gigantic is going to happen to this planet, to this world or your life, and then you panic. Suddenly you feel a fear of dying or just completely losing control. But I remember there was nothing actually going on. It was just existential dread and a sense of loneliness. I felt disconnected from reality and trapped in the body that, seemed suddenly to be like morphing or disassociating or zooming out from my experience. And then there was this very particular type of fear that during these intense moments said, there's no one there that cares about this. There's no God to care about. There was a loneliness there that felt cosmic, like it's the universe that is entrapping you, but there's nobody there. These moments happened often to me, but they weren't always this intense. Often it was just my fantasy running wild, trying to imagine how it would be to be burned alive, just so that I could grapple with the possibility of such a thing. I remember when I was 7 years old, my old brother told me about the existence of nuclear weapons for the first time. He said it like, there are bombs that you just press and the entire world blows up. And I remember this moment because I just was looking at him with, sad puppy eyes. And then he immediately wanted to comfort me and said, you don't need to be scared of this happening now, but it stuck. because it's real. To actually fathom what this means, it widens your horizon of what power we truly have, both for good and for evil, and how real it is that we are alive. Because these things can happen to us, and we have not decided them. I thought that these things are more likely to happen than not to happen, especially after my nightmare psychedelic trip that I had in the year 2021. After that, I didn't believe anymore in some sort of cosmic protection or benevolence, because this trip was such a nightmare and so brutally devastating that I felt spiritually betrayed in some sense. And imagining that I would suddenly wake up in a real life nightmare, like a Third World War, seemed oddly probable to me after this trip, because I felt like there's no protection. This is just complete chaos. Everything is possible. So I had to go back again to this one truth. The universe doesn't care what happens to you. There's nothing beyond you that cares about you. A meteor could hit you right now and that would simply be it. Like the dinosaurs. They existed for millions of years and then just push, gone so. When you realize this powerlessness, the ego's reaction is terror. It realizes something essential, that it can't control anything. So to make the case that we are in fact in a prison planet is not difficult, even without reincarnation. With this framework that I've built here, what would freedom actually look like? Because this all sounds very cynical. It's usually the case that you have done something, like committed a crime, that brought you into the position of a prison. So with the lens of the prison planet, you might ask, okay, so why did I get here? If you believe in karma or reincarnation, then you might say, okay, in our past lives, this made me be here. But from a very practical perspective, it's simply cause and effect that brought us here, which is the original idea of karma. Your grandparents created your parents, and your parents created you. And in between, all of human history has unfolded, and all causes and conditions shaped you into who you are. Where was your choice in that? Where was your freedom? There were consequences that caused you to exist. But you didn't choose your body, you didn't choose your mind, and you didn't choose your culture. You didn't choose your challenges, your trauma. And if you really are aware of your day-to-day patterns, then you might also wonder if you ever chose anything. If you have even free will to make choices at all, for which you could be judged. Because if it is all cause and effect, then yeah, you're just completely determined to end up in a prison. And even without free will or not, it is almost obviously the case that you are sole forced to look at what happens to you. Painfully so. If you apply raw logic to what the universe is doing to us, it feels like the universe might not just be a prison, but legitimately evil. Beings that exist without consent and puts them through endless experiences they've never asked for. And the people on this prison planet subreddit see this. They see the suffering that most people just ignore. They're not deluded about the darkness. They're looking straight at it. And they're also right that most people are asleep to this. But here's where this entire framing misses something essential, and how you escape the prison planet. Because the prison planet frame is about entrapment. This entire video created a focus on in which ways you are entrapped. The cosmology about being trapped here is just a mirroring of the feeling you have psychologically. You feel all of this, what I'm saying to you, and this is why you feel trapped. I painted you the picture of the prison planet, and maybe it resonates with how you're feeling inside, and then this cosmology becomes a reflection of your psychology. Prison planet people escaped the view of naive optimism, but built a view of cosmic pessimism. When I was in this deep fear state back in the day, I also thought that I wasn't being negative. I thought I was seeing reality clearly, that everything that I was seeing is obviously the case. And it's very logical and coherent, just as I laid out. But what I was actually doing was fixating on the negative aspects of reality, fixating on the ways I was trapped, fixating on the horror, fixating on my lack of control. It's this fixation that trapped me into this toxic psychological state. It has nothing to do if this is true or untrue, but the fixation makes it so that it becomes truer in a sense, because you are programming your mind to filter the world in this way. It's not about the body, it's not about the planet, and it's not about archons. It's the obsession with negativity and the dark aspects of life that creates the perception that all is negative, or that the negativity is so much bigger than the positive. There's an infinite amount of negativity out there. If this is where your attention is drawn towards, then that's what you'll see most of the time. Hell exists, and it is a state of mind. As long as you think yourself to be trapped, of course you will be, because all freedom can look like a trap. You can be a free person in society, like you're not in an actual physical prison. You have financial security, you are healthy, and you have beautiful wife and children. But you can still feel trapped in your body, trapped by your work, trapped by what you do, trapped by your desires, trapped by your will. Everything can look like a cage. The entire universe can look like it is forcing something on you, as long as you resist life, as long as you resist who you are. As long as you want to move outside yourself, you will always feel trapped. As long as you want to escape yourself, this is the trap. Now you can argue, well, point proven, the self is the trap. You can't escape the self, so you're trapped in the self, so the self is a trap. But when we frame things this extremely, then what is freedom then? What could freedom possibly be? Because right now we have defined it in a way that freedom can't exist. With this frame, you've made freedom impossible, because any individual is trapped being themselves. And if being yourself is a trap, then you're just arguing for non-existence. You're arguing for non-being over being. And I hate to break it to you, but I think we've lost this argument millions of years ago. The reason I found freedom is because I stopped trying to escape. I stopped trying to figure out if the universe was evil or good. What happens to me after my death? I stopped trying to think my way to safety. I stopped trying to control shit. I stopped pretending I know things I don't know. I'm also just one person in Babylon with you. But life is fundamentally uncertain. It's unpredictable and infinitely powerful. Cosmic dread is fear of losing something that can't be lost. A belief that there's something that could possibly control reality. And then you are scared of being at mercy of whatever's going to happen to you. The part that wants to control is the part that thinks it's trapped. Of course it is. So what would freedom actually look like? Because it's not escaping the reincarnation cycle. It's not defeating the reptilian archons. And it's not figuring out the right cosmology either. Freedom is space and awareness of the patterns that run you. When you act reactively, you can't be in control because you're running on impulse. You can't feel in control because you're running on impulse. If you sense that you need to do something because you want it, well, of course, then you are a slave to your will. And if you automatically believe things because you need to believe in something in order to feel secure, well, now you are a slave to your own beliefs. But the mind is always lying to you. It is always trying to trap you into a framework. And then, yeah, you are trapped. But it's self-imposed. It's this force that's trying to control shit. And by trying to control shit, it invents stuff. These inventions become your limiting beliefs and the way you limit yourself and your life. What you could actually do in this world. Because if you can actually do things, because you're not limited by some idea of what this world is, now there's freedom everywhere. There's space to explore everywhere. If you need to grab your phone and automatically do so without letting any time pass, then you're running on impulse. But if there's a part of you that says, wait, I'm always grabbing my phone the first thing in the morning, let me just wait a moment before I just do this, then there's actually a space there that doesn't just react, that goes beyond just mental instincts. There's where you find your freedom. And there's where you find your free will. to pause before the automatic reaction. It's finding the silent center in you. That's all freedom really is. No experience truly is a prison, because it is constantly changing and shifting. The voice that says it's not changing and shifting fast enough is what makes it into a prison, because now you're wanting to be somewhere where you're not, which is practically an impossibility. You can only be where you are. Most people right now are just addicts, and we're addicted to all sorts of stuff. As long as we're addicted to these things, of course we are trapped. The first step to break out of any addiction is to admit that you have one. It requires an awareness of the system that is causing the addiction. You can't stop something you're not realizing is happening. And so most people don't realize how trapped in patterns they are. And then they think that it's the external world that is the prison. It's the external world that is the problem. Yes, there are real, serious problems that are happening on a societal scale. And to change them is to change how we act with ourselves, how we control what we engage with and what not. And often this requires a confrontation with fear and panic and intense existential dread and uncomfortable emotions, and to feel all of these things without the need to control them or change them or escape from them. The prison planet people are looking for an exit, but the exit can only be inside of you. So if you struggle with other existential fears, like solipsism, dissociation, and emptiness, I went deep into those in this video here.